The glass of whiskey shattered against the wall. Vincent Morty didn't flinch. He stood in the doorway of his Chicago penthouse, watching the amber liquid drip down the imported Italian wallpaper. His wife, Catherine, was screaming something, words he'd heard 1,000 times before. "You're never here. You don't care about anyone but yourself." He said nothing. He never did. 3 hours later, Catherine was dead. A car bomb, outside her favorite restaurant, the one she always went to after their fights. The Calabrese family had been watching. They knew her patterns better than Vincent did. That was 2 years ago. And Vincent Morty, the most feared mafia boss in the Midwest, the man who controlled every union, every port, every underground operation from Chicago to Detroit, that man died with her. What remained was a ghost with 3 daughters who wouldn't speak, 3 little girls who'd been in the car when the bomb went off, 3 angels who survived without a scratch on their bodies, but whose souls had shattered into a million pieces. Pause. Sophia, Bella, Grace. Identical triplets, 5 years old when it happened, 7 now. They hadn't spoken a single word in 2 years. Vincent's estate sat on 40 acres outside Chicago, a fortress of stone and iron, surrounded by guards who never slept and cameras that never blinked. The main house had 22 rooms, a pool, a tennis court, a garden that Catherine had loved and that now grew wild because no one had the heart to tend it. It was the loneliest place on earth. Rosa had been with the Morty family for 18 years. She'd watched Vincent grow from a hungry young man into a ruthless empire builder. She'd been there when he married Catherine, when the triplets were born, when Catherine was lowered into the ground. She was exhausted. "Mr. Morty," she said, standing in the doorway of his study. "I need help. The house is too big. The girls need more care than I can give alone. I need to hire someone." Vincent didn't look up from his papers. Documents she knew better than to ask about. "Do it. I'll need to run a thorough background check, given everything. Whatever you need, Rosa, just handle it." That was all she was going to get. That was all anyone got from Vincent Morty anymore. 2 weeks later, Maya Santos stood outside the iron gates. She counted the security cameras, 7 that she could see, probably more hidden in the trees. The gates opened without anyone pressing a button. They'd been watching her since she stepped off the bus 3 blocks away. She walked up the stone driveway, her worn sneakers silent against the pavement. 2 men in dark suits stood at the front door. They didn't greet her. They didn't smile. Their eyes swept over her like she was a package being scanned for explosives. "Turn around asterisk," a voice whispered in her head. "This isn't a place for someone like you." But Maya needed this job. She needed the money. She needed to survive. Fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. The door opened, and Rosa led her inside. The house was even more intimidating than the outside suggested. Ceilings that soared 3 stories high. Crystal chandeliers. Marble floors so polished Maya could see her reflection in them. Everything was expensive. Everything was cold. And everything was silent. Not peaceful silent. Heavy silent. The kind of silence that pressed against your chest and made it hard to breathe. "You're Maya Santos?" Rosa asked, gesturing to a chair in the sitting room. "Yes, ma'am." Rosa studied her for a long moment. "Are you afraid?" Maya knew. She wasn't asking about the job interview. "Yes," Maya said, "I'm afraid." Rosa said nothing. "But I've been afraid of many things in my life. I'm still here." Something flickered in Rosa's eyes. Respect, maybe, or just desperate hope. "You're hired. You start tomorrow." Rosa led Maya through the house. Room after room after room. The sitting room, the dining room, the library, the indoor pool. Every space was bigger than Maya's entire apartment in the city. They were passing along the second-floor hallway when Maya heard a voice. Cold, sharp, like a blade cutting through silk. Tell Caruso if he doesn't have my money by Friday, Friday will be his last day breathing. Maya froze. Every drop of blood in her body rushed to her heart. A man stepped out from the room at the end of the hall. Tall, broad-shouldered, dark suit perfectly tailored, angular face, square jaw, and eyes that were colder than anything Maya had ever seen. He was on the phone, but he stopped when he saw them. His gaze swept over Maya. Quick, dismissive, like she was furniture, something not worth remembering. Then he walked past without a word. Maya couldn't breathe until he disappeared around the corner. That's Mr. Morty, Rosa said softly. You don't need to know much about him. Just do your job well and stay out of his way. Maya nodded. They kept going, but when they reached the staircase, Maya stopped. 3 little girls stood there, on the 5th step, holding hands, looking down. Dark curls, big round brown eyes, faces so identical Maya couldn't tell them apart. 3 small angels. But their eyes were empty, like dolls. That's Sophia, Bella, and Grace, Rosa said, her voice dropping. Mr. Morty's daughters. They haven't spoken in 2 years, not a single word, not to anyone. Maya looked at the 3 girls. The 3 girls looked back at her. And for the first time in 2 years, their eyes followed a stranger, not with fear, but with something else. Curiosity. Maya started work the next morning at 6. She dusted, she vacuumed, she polished silver and crystal and statues she didn't dare ask the price of. Rosa followed her from room to room, watching, evaluating. By noon, they stopped near the girls' room on the 2nd floor. Maya could feel the silence seeping out from behind the closed door. Heavy, thick, like grief made tangible. Do you have experience with children? Rosa asked suddenly. Maya stopped. The cloth in her hand froze midair. 3 years ago, the South Side, a small apartment above a dry cleaner. Her mother, Alina, lying in bed. Cancer had hollowed her out, turned her into a shadow of the woman who used to dance in the kitchen while making dinner. Maya had quit school to take care of her, worked 2 jobs to pay for treatments that didn't work, held her mother's hand as she took her last breath. Then came her brother, Danny, 19 years old, the boy who wanted to be a teacher. He'd never been in trouble his whole life. But someone needed a scapegoat. Someone needed someone to blame. They planted evidence, drugs in his car, a gun in his apartment. Danny was sentenced to 12 years for crimes he didn't commit. Maya was left alone, 24 years old, no mother, her brother in prison, working 3 jobs to pay lawyers who kept losing appeals. 3 years of survival. 3 years of waking up every morning and reminding herself she had to keep going. For Danny, for her mother's memory. Maya blinked, came back to the present. Rosa was still watching her, waiting. I do have experience with children, Maya said quietly. But more than that, I understand loss. I live with it every day. Rosa looked at the closed door. Those children haven't spoken in 2 years. Their father has hired every specialist in the country. Psychologists, therapists, doctors from Europe. Nothing worked. They haven't said a word to anyone, not even to their father. Maya stared at the door. Maybe they don't need someone to fix them, she said slowly. Maybe they just need someone who understands. Rosa didn't respond, but something shifted in her eyes. Hope, maybe, or just desperation reaching for anything it could hold. For the first week, Maya didn't try anything special. She just did her job, dusted, swept, folded clothes, but she did everything with a strange gentleness, as if the house itself was fragile, as if one sudden movement might shatter something beyond repair. And she hummed, quietly, barely above a breath. Old songs her mother used to sing. Lullabies from a childhood that felt like another lifetime. On the third day, Maya was mopping the second-floor hallway when she felt someone watching her. She didn't turn around. She kept working, kept humming. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw her. Sophia, the oldest of the three sisters, standing in the doorway of their room, one hand on the doorframe, watching Maya. 5 minutes passed, 10, 20. Sophia was still there. Maya wanted to turn around, wanted to smile at the little girl, wanted to say something. But she didn't. Instinct told her not to. Don't push, don't force it, just be there. So she kept humming. When Maya finally glanced back, Sophia was gone. The door had closed. But it was the first time in 2 years that one of the three girls had chosen to watch someone for that long. In the second week, something shifted. Maya was sitting in the laundry room, folding tiny dresses. Pink, purple, blue. She folded them carefully like they were treasures. And she hummed. Then she heard footsteps, small, hesitant. She didn't look up. A small shadow appeared at the edge of her vision. Bella, the second sister. She walked into the laundry room and sat on the floor about 3 feet from Maya. She didn't say anything. She just sat there, watching Maya fold. Maya kept working. She didn't look directly at Bella. She only let a small smile rest on her lips, and she hummed. Bella stayed for an hour. Then she stood up and left. But before she went, she looked back at Maya, just for a second. The next day, Grace appeared. The youngest. She stood in the laundry room doorway, head tilted, listening to Maya hum. She didn't come in. She only stood there, her head tipped to one side like a little bird trying to catch a faraway melody. Maya still didn't turn. She kept humming and folding. Something was happening. Something was changing. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, she went upstairs to get water. The house was dark, silent except for the ticking of a grandfather clock somewhere. Then she heard a voice from Vincent's study. The door was cracked open. A thin line of light spilled into the hallway. Maya knew she should turn back. This wasn't her business. But her feet didn't listen. I don't care about his family. Vincent's voice cut through the darkness, cold, empty, like a man reading a grocery list. He betrayed me. He pays. That's how this works. Silence. The person on the other end must have been speaking. Handle it. I don't want to hear his name again. Maya trembled. She backed away slowly, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She thought of the men who killed people over money, over territory, over nothing at all. She was working for one of them. She was living under the roof of a man who ordered death without hesitation. The next morning, Maya got up early. Her eyes were swollen from lack of sleep. She went up to the second floor to start her work, and she saw him. Vincent, standing in the hallway outside his daughter's room. The door was slightly open. He stood there, not going in, only looking. Maya stopped at the corner of the corridor. She held her breath. From where she stood, she could see inside the room. The three girls sat on the bed, holding hands, staring into nothing, like every day, like the last 2 years. And she saw Vincent's face. The most powerful mafia boss in the Midwest. The man who'd given an order to kill last night without blinking. His face was shattered. Just for a second. Those cold eyes filled with pain. That square jaw trembled. His hand clenched at his side as if he were fighting not to collapse. Then he drew a deep breath, put the mask back on. His face went cold again. His eyes went empty. He turned away and walked down the stairs. Maya stood there, not moving. And she understood. There were 2 Vincent Mortys. The monster on the outside, the man who ordered death without hesitation, the man who made the entire underworld tremble. And then there was another Vincent. The father who stood at his daughter's door every morning. The father broken because he couldn't reach his own children. The father powerless, even with the whole world in his hands. Maya didn't know if she should be afraid of him or feel sorry for him. Maybe both. In the third week, the first miracle happened. Maya was folding laundry in the washroom, humming as usual. When she lifted a stack of freshly washed sheets, she saw it. A piece of paper lying on top of the clean clothes. She picked it up. It was a drawing made with crayons, a butterfly, purple, wings uneven, antenna bent, body crooked. But to Maya, it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. She sat down on the floor, holding the picture with both hands, staring at it for a long time. She knew who'd drawn it, Sophia, the girl who'd been watching her since the first week. And now, the child was standing behind the door. Maya didn't look back, but she knew. She could feel Sophia's eyes on her. "So beautiful," Maya whispered, quiet enough that it felt like she was talking to herself, loud enough for Sophia to hear. "This butterfly is so beautiful." She stood up, carried the drawing out of the laundry room, walked straight to the kitchen. She looked around, searching for the perfect spot, right on the wall beside the window where the morning light would fall every day. She taped the drawing there, the most honored spot in the house. She stepped back, looked at it. "Perfect," she murmured. From the edge of the hallway, a pair of eyes watched. Sophia. She'd followed Maya from the laundry room to the kitchen. And when she saw her picture hanging on the wall, something flickered in those empty eyes. A spark. Tiny, but real. Then she turned and disappeared. In the fourth week, Maya was standing in the sitting room, dusting the statues on the shelf. She hummed as she always did. The melody had become her breath in this house. She didn't hear footsteps, but she felt a presence, someone standing behind her. She didn't turn. She kept humming, kept dusting. Then she heard it. A whisper, small as a breath, fragile as a butterfly wing brushing the air. "Sing." Just one word. Maya went still. Her hand stopped midair. Her heart missed a beat, then raced twice as fast. That was the first word in 2 years. Grace, the youngest, the one who used to make up songs in the bathtub before the tragedy. Maya wanted to turn around, to pull the child into her arms, to cry, to run and call Rosa. But she didn't. She knew that if she reacted too strongly, she'd ruin everything. This fragile moment would burst like a bubble. So she just kept humming, her voice softer now, gentler, like she was rocking a newborn. Then she heard it. A tiny hum. Grace was humming along. Not words, only the melody. But she was singing. After 2 years of silence, Grace was singing. Maya kept going. She finished the song, then started again from the beginning. Grace hummed with her. The two of them stood there, backs turned to each other, singing the same song. No one looked at the other, but something was being stitched back together. An invisible thread, delicate but real. In the 5th week, Maya was folding clothes in the girls' room. She was allowed inside now. The 3 girls no longer closed the door when she came. She sat on the floor, folding tiny dresses, humming softly. Bella sat on the bed, watching Maya. For a long time, the child didn't speak. Then, suddenly, "Why do you hum sad songs?" Maya stopped. This was the first time Bella had spoken to her. Not just a word, a whole question. Maya set the dress down. She knelt so her eyes were level with the little girl on the bed. "Because sometimes sadness is beautiful too, sweetheart," she said gently. "It means we once loved someone very much, so much that when they're gone, we still remember, we still feel sad, because love doesn't disappear just because the person we love isn't here anymore." Bella was silent. Her big brown eyes held Maya's without blinking. Then she said, her voice small as a falling leaf, "I'm sad too." Maya felt her heart crack. "I know, Angel," she whispered. "I'm sad too." Bella looked at Maya for a long time, as if searching for something in her eyes. Then she reached out. Her tiny hand touched Maya's cheek, a touch as light as a butterfly wing. Maya didn't move. She let that small hand rest on her face. Tears gathered in the corners of her eyes, but she didn't wipe them away. She let them fall. Because sometimes tears are beautiful too. They mean we can still feel, we're still alive. In the doorway, Sophia and Grace stood watching, hand in hand, their eyes no longer empty. Something was waking up. Something that had died 2 years ago. Slowly, gently coming back to life. In the 6th week, the wall of silence collapsed. Not all at once, not with a single crash, but brick by brick, one at a time. Sophia was the first to speak of her mother. She was sitting beside Maya in the laundry room, watching her fold clothes. And then, suddenly, Mommy used to hum too. Her voice was small, raspy, like her throat had forgotten how to make sounds after 2 years. Maya's hands paused, but she didn't turn to look at Sophia. She was afraid that if she looked, the child would stop. She hummed while she cooked, while she gave us baths. She had the prettiest voice. Maya kept folding, her voice soft. "Your mom sounds wonderful." She was beautiful. She had long dark hair, brown eyes like ours. She smiled all the time. Sophia's voice began to tremble. Then she stopped smiling. Then she went away. Maya still didn't turn. She let Sophia talk. Let the words pour out like water that had been dammed for too long. The next day, Bella asked the question no one dared answer. Why did Mommy have to go? She was sitting on the bed, watching Maya tidy the room. I asked Daddy, but Daddy didn't say anything. Daddy just walked out. Daddy never talks about Mommy. Maya sat on the edge of the bed. She didn't know how to answer. She didn't know the whole truth. "Sometimes bad things happen to good people, sweetheart," she said slowly. "I don't know why, no one knows. But that doesn't mean your mommy wanted to leave. She loved you. She loved you so much." Bella's eyes rimmed red. "How do you know?" "Because no mother ever wants to leave her children. Never." That night, Grace spoke about her mother for the first time. The youngest was lying in bed, eyes turned up to the ceiling. Maya sat beside her, humming softly. "I miss the way Mommy smelled," Grace said, her voice dreamy. "Like flowers. She held me every night. I used to breathe in her hair before I fell asleep." She turned to look at Maya. "I can't remember that smell anymore. I try, but I can't." Maya felt her heart shatter. She reached out and stroked Grace's hair. "You'll remember, sweetheart, maybe not with your nose, but with your heart. The people we love never truly disappear. They live right here." She touched Grace's chest gently. Grace looked at Maya for a long time. Then she cried. For the first time in 2 years. Real crying, sobbing, painful, freeing. Maya pulled her into her arms. In the doorway, Sophia and Bella stood watching. And then they cried too. They climbed onto the bed and pressed into Maya's embrace. The 4 of them held onto each other and cried. Crying for Catherine, crying for the months of silence, crying for all the pain they'd kept locked inside for too long. Maya cried with them. She cried for her mother, for Danny, for herself. That night, for the first time, the pain was shared. And once it was shared, it felt a little less heavy. In the 8th week, laughter came back. The girls started helping Maya with the house. Sophia helped fold laundry. She didn't fold neatly, but she tried so hard. Bella helped water the plants. She asked the name of every flower, asked why leaves were green, asked 1,000 why questions. Grace helped bake. She got dough all over her face and licked sugar from the spoon. And she laughed, a bright giggle, clear as wind chimes. They sang together, old songs, new songs, songs their mother used to sing. Their voices didn't match. Their words were sometimes wrong, but no one cared. The kitchen filled with music. One afternoon, Rosa stood outside the kitchen door. She looked inside. Grace was sitting on Maya's shoulders, her hands tangled in Maya's dark hair, laughing without stopping. Sophia and Bella sat on the kitchen table, legs swinging, cheeks flushed with life. Maya was folding tiny dresses, smiling as she sang along. Late afternoon sunlight poured through the window, painting them all in warm gold. Sophia's purple butterfly drawing was still on the wall, a silent witness to everything that had happened. Rosa lifted a hand to cover her mouth. Tears streamed down her cheeks. 2 years. 2 years of silence. No psychologist could do it, no therapist, no specialist, no amount of money. But this girl in 8 weeks. Rosa backed away from the kitchen door. Her hand trembled as she took out her phone. She dialed Vincent's number. He was in Detroit, a business trip that was supposed to last 2 weeks. The phone rang, once, twice. "What is it, Rosa?" "You need to come home, sir." "I'm busy. What's going on?" Rosa wanted to tell him, wanted to shout that his daughters were talking, laughing, singing, that a miracle had happened. But she didn't. "It's nothing specific, just, come home, please." Silence on the line. "I'll come back when I'm finished." He hung up. Vincent came home 3 days later. He didn't call ahead, a Mafia habit, never announce your schedule. The house was quiet when he walked in, the same heavy silence as always. But then he heard something. A sound coming from somewhere inside the house. His heart sped up. By reflex, his hand went to the gun at his side. But this wasn't danger. This was something else. Something he hadn't heard in this house for more than 2 years. Laughter. He moved toward it, his feet barely touching the ground. The kitchen. He stood in front of the kitchen door. His hand trembled as he put it on the knob. He pushed the door open. And his world stopped. Late afternoon sunlight poured through the big windows, laying warm gold over the kitchen. In the middle of that light, his daughters. Grace was sitting on the shoulders of a woman, her small hands tugging at the woman's dark hair, her mouth wide open in a laughing squeal. Sophia and Bella were sitting on the kitchen table, legs swinging, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with life. All 3 of them were singing, an old lullaby, one Catherine used to sing every night. Their voices didn't match, their words were sometimes wrong. But they were singing. His daughters were singing. On the wall, right beside the window, a crayon drawing had been taped in a place of honor. A purple butterfly with uneven wings. The woman was folding tiny dresses, smiling as she sang along. Maya. The housekeeper he'd only seen once in the hallway, the girl he hadn't even bothered to look at. Vincent's briefcase slipped from his hand. He stood there, unable to move, unable to breathe. His daughters were talking, laughing, singing. After 2 years of absolute silence. After 2 years of watching them like ghosts. After 2 years of believing he'd lost them forever. For 3 seconds, joy flooded Vincent. Relief so intense his chest felt like it might split open. Gratitude, a feeling he thought had died with Catherine. He wanted to run in, to gather his girls into his arms, to cry, to tell them Daddy loved them. Then Grace shouted, "Higher, Miss Maya, higher." And something shifted inside Vincent. Fast, sudden, like someone flipping a switch. This woman had done what he couldn't. She'd brought his daughters back from the land of silence. While he's Vincent Morty, the most powerful mafia boss in the Midwest, the man who controlled half the criminal operations from Chicago to Detroit, couldn't do a thing. He'd spent millions, hired the best experts, taken them everywhere, bought them everything. Nothing worked. Then a housekeeper appeared, a girl with no name, no degrees, nothing at all. And she did what he couldn't, in 8 weeks. Jealousy. That's where it started. A small flame in his chest, shame feeding the flame. He was their father. He should have been the one making them laugh. He should have been the one they called for. Not this stranger. The darkness in Vincent Morty rose up. And it needed somewhere to pour itself. What the hell is going on here? Vincent's voice ripped through the kitchen like gunfire. The singing stopped instantly. Silence slammed down, heavy enough to steal the air from your lungs. Grace went rigid on Maya's shoulders, her face crumpled. Her tiny lips began to quiver. Maya felt her body shake, but she didn't panic. She carefully set Grace down on the floor, gently, slowly. "Sir, I was just—" "You were hired to clean." Vincent's voice was ice. "Not to turn my kitchen into a circus." Sophia and Bella shrank back on the kitchen table. The two girls clutched each other's hands, eyes wide with horror. Grace started to cry, a small, strangled sound of fear. She ran to hide behind Maya's legs. Maya stood tall. She didn't bow her head. She didn't step back. "The girls were happy, sir," she said, her voice small but steady. "This is the first time in 2 years they've talked, they've laughed, they've sung. Can't you see that? I don't need you telling me what my children need." Vincent moved closer, his face flushed. Veins stood out in his neck. "They're my children, not yours." Maya stepped back once, not from fear, but because Grace was hiding behind her. "I'm the only one who's gotten them to speak again, sir," she said slowly. "How many experts did you hire? How much money did you spend? No one could do it, but I did, in 8 weeks. You can fire me, but you can't deny that." Vincent went still. No one, not his men, not his enemies, not even other bosses, had ever spoken to his face like that. His anger doubled. "You're fired. Pack your things. Get out of here right now." Maya just stood there, looking at him. There was no fear in her eyes, no begging, only something that looked like disappointment. And pity. That made Vincent even more furious. Fast footsteps sounded in the hallway. Rosa ran in. "Mr. Morty, you don't understand. She's done what no one else could. The girls are talking. Please don't." "Shut up." Vincent turned. His stare pinned Rosa like he wanted to kill her. Rosa stepped back. Her legs shook. In 18 years with the Morty family, she'd never seen Vincent turn that cruelty on her. She didn't say another word. Vincent turned back to Maya. "Get out of my house, before I do something we'll both regret." Maya looked at him for a long moment. Then she bent down and gently pried Grace's hands off her skirt. The little girl cried louder. "Miss Maya, don't go, don't go." Maya's heart splintered, but she couldn't stay. She knelt down to Grace's eye level and wiped the tears from her cheeks. "You'll be all right, Angel," she whispered. "You'll all be all right." Then she stood. She walked past Vincent, chin lifted, back straight. Tears slid silently down her cheeks, but she didn't hide her face. She didn't plead. She walked out of the sun-drenched kitchen, leaving behind 3 little girls crying, a mafia boss breathing hard with rage, and an old housekeeper trembling in the doorway. Maya stood in the hallway for a moment. The crying of the 3 little girls still echoed behind her. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't beg, she didn't turn back. She'd survived watching her mother die slowly over 6 months. She'd survived her brother being thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. She'd survived 3 years alone, working 3 jobs, pouring every dollar into lawyers who kept failing. She wasn't going to break in front of a mafia boss. "Yes, sir," she said, just 2 words, voice calm. Then she walked out. Chin lifted, back straight, shoulders squared. In the kitchen, the 3 girls stopped crying. Sophia moved first. She climbed down from the kitchen table, slowly, like a machine. Bella followed, then Grace. The 3 girls stood in a line, holding hands, just like 2 years ago. Their faces were empty. The light in their eyes, the light Maya had spent 8 weeks trying to ignite, went out. They looked at their father. Not with daughter's eyes. With a stranger's eyes. Cold, distant, hollow. Then the 3 girls turned away. They walked out of the kitchen in silence, hand in hand, tiny footsteps making no sound. They went back to their room. Like ghosts. That night, Dominic went into the girls' room. Around 2 in the morning, he couldn't sleep. Moonlight streamed through the window. The 3 little girls lay on the bed, pressed close together, hands still clasped even in sleep. Vincent stood beside the bed, looking down at 3 angel faces. He wanted to touch them, stroke their hair, kiss their foreheads. He reached out. Then Sophia opened her eyes. The oldest, the one who always protected her sisters. She didn't startle, wasn't afraid. She just looked straight into Vincent's eyes. And Vincent saw something that sent cold down his spine. Hate. Sophia opened her mouth. "You sent Miss Meyer away." Her voice was cold as ice. "I hate you." 3 words. They pierced Vincent like 3 bullets. Then Sophia turned her face to the wall. And that was the last time she spoke to him. The days that followed were hell. The silence came back. But worse. The girls weren't just quiet. They refused their father completely. At breakfast, they stood up the moment he sat down, walked away, left their food untouched. When he went into their room, all 3 turned their backs, stared at the wall, as if he didn't exist. Vincent tried everything, apologizing, begging, promising. Nothing changed. On the 3rd night, Vincent sat alone in his study, bottle of whiskey in his hand, Catherine's photograph on the desk. He cried. For the first time since the funeral. Tears streaming down his face. The tears a mafia boss never let anyone see. Then the pain turned into anger. He grabbed his phone, called Marco. "Find me someone, anyone. I need to let this rage out." Silence on the other end. Then Marco spoke, his voice gentle, like talking to a friend, not a boss. "Killing doesn't bring the girls back, boss. You wiped out the Calabrese family. Every last one of them. Did that bring your wife back? Did it make the girls speak again?" Vincent didn't answer. Violence doesn't solve pain. You know that. Vincent threw the phone at the wall. It shattered. He sat in the dark, alone, with a half-empty bottle with Catherine's picture. And with a truth he couldn't outrun. He'd destroyed the only thing left. Not because of enemies, not because of danger. Because of his own jealousy, pride, stupidity. And this time, there was no one to take revenge on. Only himself. The next morning, Vincent called Marco again. "Find her. Find Maya Santos." "Boss, she didn't do anything wrong. You fired her. She left." "I know. I was wrong. I need to fix it. Please, Marco." Marco was silent for a long moment. In 15 years, he'd never heard Vincent say please. "I'll find her." Marco was the best at this. Finding people, digging up information. He started with what he knew. Maya Santos, 27 years old, lived somewhere in the city, hired by Rosa as a housekeeper 2 months ago. He dug deeper. And he found it. Maya Santos, daughter of Alina Santos, single mother, died of cancer 3 years ago. Brother Danny Santos, 22 now, serving a 12-year sentence for drug and weapon possession. But the file showed suspicious points, evidence planted too perfectly. Witness had connections to a rival crew. Danny Santos was set up. Maya Santos, working 3 jobs to pay lawyers, going to night school, pouring every dollar into appeals that kept failing. Marco sat in his car, staring at his laptop. Then he found something else. Elena Santos worked for a dry cleaning business. The business was a front for the Calabrese family, protection money. When Elena got sick, she couldn't keep up with payments. The Calabrese sent men to collect. Elena had nothing to give. She died 2 weeks later. Maya's brother Danny tried to fight back, tried to expose what happened. That's when they set him up. The Calabrese family. The same family that killed Vincent's wife. The same family Vincent had wiped off the face of the earth. Marco closed his laptop. Fate, he didn't believe in fate. But what was this? This girl had come to work for the man who'd avenged her family without even knowing it. This girl had healed the children of the man who destroyed her family's tormentors. And Vincent had thrown her out. That evening, Marco stood in Vincent's study. "Boss, there's something you need to know." He told Vincent everything. About Elena Santos, about the Calabrese connection, about Danny being set up, about how Maya had been fighting alone for 3 years. Vincent listened in silence. When Marco finished, Vincent didn't speak for a long time. "Does she know," he finally asked, "that I killed the people who destroyed her family?" "No, she doesn't know. She only knows her mother died and her brother was set up." Vincent closed his eyes, leaned back in his chair. "Where is she now?" "Small apartment on the south side. 3rd floor, works 3 jobs, barely surviving." Vincent opened his eyes. "Take me there, now." Maya's apartment was a cramped space on the 3rd floor of a rundown building. On the wobbly table by the window, a framed photograph. Danny, her brother, from his 18th birthday. Beside it, a stack of papers, lawyer files, appeal forms, 3 years of hope, 3 years of failure. Maya was at the diner, where she worked when she felt something off. She looked up. Vincent Morty was sitting in a corner booth, alone. No bodyguards, no expensive car outside. Just him, watching her. Maya felt the blood rush to her heart. "He found me, he came here. For what? To get me fired from this job too." She wanted to run. But she didn't. She'd run enough, she'd lost enough. So she finished her shift, served customers, wiped tables. At 2 o'clock, her shift ended. She stepped outside. Vincent was waiting on the sidewalk. "I need to talk to you," he said. His voice wasn't cold anymore. It was tired, worn out. "What do you want, Mr. Morty? Did you come to get me fired from this job too?" Vincent flinched. "I deserve that, you're right." Maya didn't answer, she just watched him, waiting. "There's a small park nearby," Vincent said. "Give me 10 minutes, please." They sat on a bench, leaving space between them. "My girls went silent again," Vincent began. "The second you walked out, they haven't said a word. They won't look at me. They hate me." "I know, Rosa called me." Vincent turned to her. "She called you." "She's worried. She doesn't know what to do." Silence. "I was jealous," Vincent said, his voice low and heavy. "You did what I couldn't. You made my daughters speak again, laugh, sing, and instead of being grateful, I was jealous, angry. I destroyed everything." Maya stared straight ahead, at the trees, at the falling leaves. "You're right, you destroyed everything. I want you to come back, work for me, stay with my daughters. You're the only one who can help them." Maya gave a small laugh. no warmth in it. I can't, Mr. Morty. I'll pay double, triple, 10 times any number you want. Maya stood up, faced him. You think this is about money? You think you can buy me? Do you know what it felt like? Being thrown out like a criminal in front of children I loved. Her voice rose. I work 3 jobs to pay a lawyer for my brother. I get up at 5 in the morning. I go to bed at 1. I'm so tired sometimes I forget how to breathe. But every night before I sleep, I still think about those 3 little girls. I still worry about them, even after you threw me out like trash. She looked straight into Vincent's eyes. Sorry isn't enough, Mr. Morty. Money isn't enough. Nothing is enough. She turned away, started to walk. Your brother. Maya froze. What did you just say? Vincent stood up, walked toward her. Danny Santos, your brother, serving 12 years for a crime he didn't commit. He was set up. Maya's face flushed with anger. You investigated me, and now what? You're bribing me, using my brother to force me back. No. Maya stared at him. I'm going to help your brother, whether you come back or not. Why? Why would you help? You don't owe me anything. Because it's the right thing, Vincent said. I've done too many wrong things in my life. The blood on my hands will never wash off. But at least I can do one right thing. Help an innocent person get out of a place he doesn't belong. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Danny, he's only 22. He didn't do anything wrong. He just wanted to be a teacher. For 3 years, I've tried to save him. For 3 years, I've worked myself sick. Vincent nodded. I've got the best lawyers. I've got connections in the system. I can reopen the case. I can get him out, no conditions, no trade, whether you come back or not. Maya searched his eyes, looking for deceit, for a scheme. She found only exhaustion, regret, and maybe sincerity. Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she sat back down on the bench. If I come back, she said slowly, you have to change, really change. Change how? You have to be home, actually home. Not the kind where you drop in for a few hours and fly off to Detroit. Home with your girls, eat breakfast with them, eat dinner with them. Read them books before bed. Know their friends' names, know what songs they like. She looked at him. They don't need a mafia boss. They need a father. My work. Your work stole their mother. Vincent went still. Catherine died because of who you are, because of the empire you built, because of the enemies you made. Blood calls for blood, and she paid the price. Maya drew a deep breath. Don't let your daughters pay anymore. They've already lost their mother. Don't let them lose their father, too. Vincent looked at Maya, his eyes full of pain. You're asking me to give up everything. No, I'm asking you to choose your daughters or your empire. You can't have both. You tried, you failed. Catherine died. The girls were silent for 2 years. She held his gaze. Choose, Mr. Morty, for once in your life, the thing that truly matters. Maya stood. 2 days. I'll give you 2 days to prove you want to change. If you can, I'll come back. If you can't, don't look for me again. Vincent nodded. 2 days, I'll prove it. Maya turned and walked away. She didn't look back. On the first day, Vincent woke up at 6. He went down to the kitchen. Rosa was preparing breakfast. Mr. Morty, you're not going to work. I'm making breakfast, for the girls. Rosa's eyes widened. But sir, you can't cook. I'll learn. 30 minutes later, he put 3 plates of burnt eggs and scorched toast on the table. The 3 little girls came down. They saw the burnt food. Then they saw their father standing there in an apron, hands smeared with butter. They didn't eat. But they didn't walk away. They stayed seated, watching him, longer than usual. Vincent sat with them. He didn't speak. He just sat there. Present. On the second day, Vincent didn't leave the house. He put his phone in a drawer, didn't look at it. In the afternoon, he sat in the sitting room. The three girls were playing in the corner, playing in silence. Vincent sat on the sofa, a few feet away. He didn't try to talk, didn't try to force anything. He just sat there, watching, present. 3 hours passed. Near the end of the day, Grace stood up. She walked toward Vincent, slowly, step by small step. Vincent didn't move, didn't dare breathe. Grace stopped in front of him, looked up. Then she reached out, touched his hand. Just for a second, a touch as light as a butterfly. Then she pulled back, turned around, ran to her sisters. But that 1 second was enough. Vincent felt tears gather in his eyes. He didn't wipe them away. That night, Vincent went into the girls' room. "Girls, Daddy has something to say." No response, but he knew they were listening. "Miss Maya is coming back. Daddy found her. Daddy apologized. She's going to come back." Sophia turned her head. For the first time since the night she'd said, "I hate you." "Really? Really, sweetheart. And Daddy's going to be here too. Daddy's going to stay home more, I promise." Sophia stared at him. "You've promised a lot. You always promise." Vincent swallowed hard. "You're right. Daddy's promised a lot and didn't keep it, but this time is different. This time, Daddy's going to prove it, with actions, not words." Sophia looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned away. She didn't say anything else, but she didn't say, "I hate you." And for Vincent, that was a beginning. The third day, early morning. The three little girls stood at the living room window, 3 small faces pressed to the glass, 6 eyes fixed on the driveway. Waiting. 8 o'clock. A taxi stopped at the gate. The iron gate opened slowly. A figure stepped inside. "She's here," Grace shouted. It was the first thing she'd said since Maya left. Maya walked up the stone path, simple white dress, hair tied back. Rosa opened the door before Maya could knock. "Thank you," Rosa said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you for giving them a second chance." Maya hugged her back. "Thank you for calling me." She walked inside. And there they were. Vincent sitting on the sofa, the 3 girls beside him. He was holding a children's book, trying to read, but the girls weren't looking at the pages. They were watching the doorway. Maya stepped in. "Hello, my little angels." The 3 girls turned. And it was like the world exploded. "Miss Maya." All 3 screamed at once. They jumped off the sofa, ran to her like 3 little storms. Maya dropped to her knees, opened her arms wide. They crashed into her, clinging to her. "We thought you were gone. We missed you so much. Why did you leave?" Maya held them tight, tears running down her cheeks. "I'm here. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left. I'm sorry, my loves. Will you forgive me?" "Yes." Maya smiled through her tears. Sophia lifted her face, big brown eyes still wet. "Are you staying? Are you staying with us? Are you leaving again?" Maya looked at Sophia, then looked up at Vincent. He was still on the sofa. The book had fallen to the floor. Tears streaming down his face. The most powerful mafia boss in the Midwest, crying like a child. He nodded. Maya turned back to Sophia. "I'm staying. I promise. I'm not leaving again." Sophia wrapped her arms around Maya. And cried, real crying, the crying of a child finally free. Bella spoke suddenly. "Daddy found Miss Maya, didn't he? Daddy went looking for her." Vincent stood, walked over, knelt beside them. "I did. Daddy found Miss Maya. Daddy apologized, because Daddy was wrong, because you need her, and because Daddy loves you." Sophia looked at him for a long time. Then she reached out, took his hand, her tiny fingers wrapping around his big, scarred hand. Are you staying with us too? Like Miss Maya, are you going to be home? Vincent felt his heart break open and piece itself back together. I'm staying, I promise. I'm going to be home with you every day. Bella took his other hand. Grace climbed into his lap. And Vincent Morty, Mafia boss, killer, empire builder, cried. His 3 daughters clung to him. Maya sat beside them, tears on her face. Rosa stood in the doorway, crying without a sound. And for the first time in 2 years, the mansion wasn't silent anymore. It was full of tears, laughter, voices. The sound of love coming back to life. 6 months later, Vincent Morty was still a mafia boss. He still controlled the operations. His empire still stood. But he wasn't running it directly anymore. He handed most operations to Marco. Marco flew to meetings. Marco handled problems. Vincent supervised from a distance. 4 days a week, he worked from home. A few hours in the morning. The rest, he gave to his daughters. He knew their teachers' names, their friends' names, the songs they loved. He was there for breakfast, for dinner, for bedtime stories. 4 months after Maya returned, Danny Santos walked out of prison. A free man. Vincent's lawyers had reopened the case, found the inconsistencies, exposed the setup. Maya waited outside the prison gates. She'd been there since early morning. When Danny walked out, she ran to him. They held each other, crying, laughing. You're home, Maya sobbed. You're home. One Saturday afternoon. Late sunlight painted the garden in gold. Vincent went looking for his daughters. He found them in the backyard. Maya and the 3 girls kneeling in the soil, hands smeared with mud, laughing. What are we planting? Vincent asked. Sunflowers, Daddy, Grace shouted. Miss Maya said Mommy liked sunflowers. So we're planting them for Mommy, Sophia added, so Mommy can see them from heaven. Vincent felt his throat tighten. He knelt down beside his daughters, his expensive suit picking up mud. Your mom loved sunflowers, he said quietly. She said they always turn toward the light, no matter how dark it gets, no matter how bad the storm, they keep facing the sun. Sophia looked at him. Like us, Daddy, we were in the dark for a long time, but we found the light. Vincent pulled his daughter into his arms. That's right, sweetheart, just like you. You found the light, and so did Daddy. They stayed there, all 5 of them, digging, planting, working together. Like a family. Then Grace pointed up at the sky. Daddy, look. A butterfly, purple, drifting above them. It settled on the sunflower seed packet, wings shimmering in the last light of day. Stayed for a few seconds, as if watching them. Then flew away, toward the setting sun. Toward the light. Maya reached out and stroked Grace's hair. Mommy's watching you, she whispered. Mommy's always here, in the wind, in the sunshine, in butterfly wings. Vincent's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, Marco. Before, he would have answered immediately. But this wasn't before anymore. He turned the phone off. Everything okay? Maya asked. Nothing matters more than this. Sophia looked up at her father. Are you staying, really staying, forever? Vincent pulled all 3 girls into his arms. I'm staying, until I can't breathe anymore, I promise. He looked at Maya. Thank you, he said, for everything. Maya shook her head, tears in her eyes. Don't thank me, thank God. He brought us together, he gave us a second chance. They stayed there in the garden, as the sunset faded. 5 people, 1 family. Not perfect, full of wounds, full of scars. But healing. One day at a time. And in the sky, a purple butterfly flying toward the sun. True wealth isn't what you build. Whether it's an empire or a kingdom, it's who you become. And the most precious thing in this life isn't power, isn't money, isn't the fear of your enemies. It's love that stays. Even in silence. Even in darkness. Even when your hands are stained with blood. Love stays. Like a sunflower, always turning toward the sun. Always turn toward the light. No matter what you've done in the past, no matter how badly you've failed, there's always a chance to change. There's always a chance to love. There's always a chance to come home. Because what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? What would you have done in her place? Would you have gone back? Drop a comment below. We always want to hear what's deep in your heart.